Okay, this is going to be a small video just as something that occurred a couple of days ago in my state. So basically you can see the heading here about how an 80-year-old man died of hypothermia, lonely death. So for example, what do we got in here? Lonely death, Tasmania winter, 38 kilograms. So basically a guy weighed practically nothing. Coroner's investigation found hypothermia. Now this is something I do need to point out, as that this person has a similar living condition to mine at the moment, and well, politics as they are. So the person's name was living in the unit with his mother, remaining living there after she died. So basically the guy was living alone. Statement said they're working. Alright. This is the part I've got a problem with. Housing Tasmania said that in a statement, the unit has a working heat pump. Okay. Let's make something absolutely clear here. I'm in a 2-bedroom community housing unit. I have found out that most properties, either in public housing, Housing Tasmania, and whatnot, all have the same sort of thing. They have a heat pump, a reverse cycle, whatever you want to call it, pulls in the air, heats it up, or cools it down, and then pushes it back out. So it helps with circulation. This is only in the living room. So if in a place like mine where you've got 2 bedrooms on 2 levels, or 2 bedrooms, a hallway, and a living room, the air isn't going to, that air circulation isn't going to happen in the bedrooms. Now I know this because 2021, when we had like some really, well, let's call it crisp winter, I had to buy a heater because I couldn't sleep. It was so cold in my bedroom that I couldn't sleep. So the idea that a heat pump's going to solve the be all end all for anyone outside of a bedsit is a complete joke. Every other unit where I am has the exact same problem. Yes, the living room is comfortable, unless something's directly attached to that living area where the heat pump is, it is not going to cool it down. Police investigation said entering the unit they noticed it was very cold, as well as very cluttered with piles of paper and such, like Mr. Copper said in his findings. So obviously a bit of a hoarder. Without being able to see the contents of his house, of this property, I can't comment on that. But for myself, I'm in a sort of similar position where I do have a lot of stuff. I wanted to be able to work on computers. I wanted to be able to play vintage video games. I wanted to be able to sew. I wanted to be able to do woodworking. And at the moment, I'm at the point where I have all this stuff, but it's cluttered all around the place. I have started being able to construct myself shelving so I can keep everything proper and neat and not make it look like an utter mess, but that's still going to take time and it's going to take money. As for me going out and, say, buying pre-made fabricated shelving, yeah, finding things that match the measurements that I need for mine is just impossible. So it's more like, let's go buy a couple of 2x4s, some plywood, and slap something together. Surprisingly easy, but also very expensive. I mean, if you got like $300 or $400 to throw around to build stuff at the, that's great. But for me, it's going to take time. It's going to take money, which I have to save for. And right now, doing a TAFE course, most of my finances is basically going into that. So, yay. 30 kilograms, an autopsy in Launceston General Hospital by Terry Brain. So that's a medical person who did the actual autopsy. Large amount of money was found in his $69,000. I mean, that is a lot of money. Just to understand that in my state, we've had issues where the price of electricity had skyrocketed, and now it's starting to come down. And what I found is that people like myself, other people who live in these flats, other people I've found in housing or public housing, they don't want to put the heat pump on because they're afraid of how much it's going to cost. And then you have other problems with Aurora, but I've generally found with the main power company down here, the one that's been here for decades. If you talk to them, if you arrange a payment plan, they don't cut off your power. They don't charge you interest. They don't send it to the collection agency. As long as you keep making regular payments, you're fine. You're not going to lose, your power's not going to be disconnected, and then you're screwed. What will happen, however, is if you avoid them, if you turn around and don't communicate with the power company, that's when you get your power cut off. I've been in situations where I've been in debt each quarter, because that's when we pay electricity down here each quarter. I've been in the negative, so negative $300, negative 150, or negative like whatever. But because I've been making these regular payments, I don't pay interest, I don't get any additional fees. As long as I keep making payments, I'm good. It took a couple of years, but I eventually got into the positive. Unfortunately, there are people that don't want to get into that. Now, there's another thing here, is that however, therapeutic levels of morphine and psychotherapeutic levels of methadone were identified. I'm not taking illegal narcotics, so I don't have to worry about that. But dying in my bedroom because it's too cold, that's a bit of a worry for me. Call loneliness to check on elderly. That would require him to have friends and be out in the community, to be working. And not everyone has that opportunity. Not everyone's comfortable with going out and interacting with other people, especially when you get abuse held at you, or the police pull up and think you're an arsonist, so they get ready to jump you and make themselves look like a complete idiot in front of another police vehicle and an ambulance, the kind of stupid shit that goes on everywhere. Okay. 75-year-old refuses treatment, paramedics days before found dead in bed, coroner finds. That's not what this one's about. Now, there is a particular post about where he was found dead. No injury, so basically he weighed 38 kilos, no injuries were found on him, so obviously he hadn't been assaulted. Mr. Wells's body, and nothing to suggest that he had been the victim of an assault, so, obviously natural death. No evidence of victims of crime. Indeed, large sums of cash recovered from his unit, and the absence of any physical injuries would very strongly recommend he was not. However, therapeutic levels of morphine, autopsy found, was Mr. Wells was not married and had no children, so basically had no family. Identified by a friend, so he did have friends. I had my hay fever. Okay, here we go. Kenneth James Well lived alone in his Launceston unit and was found in his bedroom, half under his bed, with no clothing on his upper body. I do sleep like that occasionally, just because of whether I'm feeling too, well, say for instance, if it's summertime, I won't wear a top. Sometimes it's too cold, so, you shift and remove yourself around all the time, and sometimes I've woken up in the middle of the night and my blanket is basically off on the floor somewhere because I kicked it off, even during cold nights, so it's not unheard of. He hadn't been seen for a while, and hence the reason why the police called him in. For me, because I keep my windows open, if I had died in my sleep, it would take to the point of my body actually rotting before anyone would contact the police. Although, yeah, no, that would most likely happen considering some of the people I know, it's just the way things are. So, he was found in his bedroom, and that's the thing I wanted to point out the most about this, is that while, yes, he had a working heat pump, was he comfortable using it due to, potential running costs? If he's in a similar situation to me, the ability to actually keep his bedroom in a comfortable, temperature. The dude apparently died because of the cold. Seriously. This is where here's a brand new vehicle. This will allow you to get around. This will allow you to do everything. And then when you check under the bonnet, you find the battery, the engine, the drive shaft gone. You just don't have the ability to physically drive the vehicle because the engine isn't there. or in the fact of an EV, like an electrical vehicle. The batteries, the electric motor, just gone. So no way to physically power the vehicle except if you want to push it by hand or get some horses. That's the kind of logic here. And this is where I sort of need to point out to a place like Housing Tasmania that you might want to think more about ensuring the properties are properly warmed in case people die like this. Preventable death. Preventable death. Anyway, this is just something I sort of got upset about when I was reading. And it's like, well, socially, is he required to go out? Was the property, well, the property was cold when they went in there. I mean, can you imagine what it would have been like in a bedroom? Anyway, I'm going to end this rant and give everyone hopefully something to think about. Doodles! Oh, no, sorry. Yibbity-yibbita.